All right, let's get started. Again, thank you so much to everyone who has joined today's ASES Sustainability Webinar. This is all around the Solar District Cup Spotlight. So we're really excited to be showcasing some great projects today. My name is Ellen Nielsen. I am the Programs Director here at the American Solar Energy Society. To kick it off, I would like to inform you of who ASES is and highlight some of our current events and programs. The American Solar Energy Society is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that was established in 1954 and advocates for sustainable living and 100% renewable energy by sharing information, events, and resources to cultivate community and power progress. You can join our community at any time at ases.org/join, and webinar registrants can get a special 10% discount on all things ASES memberships, excluding life memberships, using code webinar at checkout. We're really excited to be hosting the ASES Women's PV or hands-on PV workshop. It'll be taking place this upcoming June 19th through 22nd in Boulder, Colorado. That's where ASES is headquartered, and so we're really excited to be hosting this workshop just down the street from us. Marlene Brown is a longtime ASES supporter and ASES life member, and she will be our Women's PV workshop instructor, and no prior experience is needed. As a recap, we'll be hosting this in Boulder, Colorado, specifically at Fairview High School. The dates is June 19th through 22nd from 8 to 5 p.m., except we'll do a half day on the last day on Monday. The cost is $900, and eligibility, it's anyone who is female identifying, ages 18 and up, or 15 and up if you're accompanied by an adult. In this workshop, folks will learn how to size and design a solar PV system, learn how to reduce energy consumption at home or at work, identify optimal array locations for maximum energy production, learn about all types of PV systems, practice safety and power tool use, and at the end of the workshop, we'll be all participating in a hands-on labs and install an off-grid PV system. Want to share with you all around Solar 2026. You are invited to join us. This is our 55th annual National Solar Conference, Solar 2026. The theme is Solar for All Y'all. This conference will bring the solar community together to accelerate the adoption of solar energy as the solution for providing our buildings, homes, communities with clean, local produced energy, and for making our energy infrastructure more resilient and reliable under rapidly growing energy demand. This conference will be taking place at the Palmer Event Center right in downtown Austin, Texas. And be sure to head to ases.org/conference to register and learn more. As you can see on this slideshow, we have really exciting sessions, including keynote speakers such as Bill McKibben, who's our amazing author. We have Anya Schoolman, the Executive Director of Solar United Neighbors. We'll have various technical sessions, both in oral and poster format, some really cool local tours taking place in a big school bus around Austin and checking out all the various projects happening there. We have NABCEP CEUs, so anyone that is interested in more of the technical side of solar is welcome to join there. We'll be celebrating our 50th anniversary, the Texas Solar Energy Society's 50th anniversary, who is one of our ASES state chapters, and lots of different networking opportunities, career fairs, etc. So be sure to check it out. And again, that's on ases.org/conference. Wanted to share around our National Solar Tour. So that is our largest annual grassroots solar event that includes photovoltaics, passive solar, wind, electric vehicles, sustainable living, and energy first strategies. Tours are hosted by homeowners, businesses, schools, religious institutions, and organizations who post their tour on our National Solar Tour map, as you can see on the right side of the screen. Thousands of people attend in-person virtual sites, and this year's showcase weekend is October 2nd through the 4th, kicking off October's Energy Awareness Month. But in-person and virtual tours can take place at any time throughout the year. And we're excited to be kicking off Earth Month with solar tours happening all throughout April, especially on Earth Day on April 22nd. Lastly, our Solar Today magazine is the American Solar Energy Society's flagship magazine. We've been informing and inspiring our community since 1987. We send out 4 issues each year to our 20,000 plus ASES members with some articles published publicly on our website. So Solar Today is both in print and digital publication that's written by experts from across our professional network. It delivers data-driven, fiercely enthusiastic reporting on the solar industry and beyond, and helps our readers understand and navigate the energy transition with special focus on solar in the United States. We're always looking for contributors to the magazine, so if you're interested in pitching an article, please email me at info, like information, at info, at ases.org, and I'll send you the instructions. Without further ado, thank you for listening to these ASES updates. I want to note that this webinar will be available in a recorded format soon, and I'll follow up with everyone once it's available. Please be sure to put your questions in the chat section, and we'll try to get to your questions in your Q&A at the end of this presentation. So now I will hand it off to Patrick Gibbs, who is the researcher in community energy transitions at the National Laboratory of the Rockies. He'll be giving an overview of the Solar District Cup Collegiate competition. So thank you so much, Patrick, and I'll hand it off to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, hello. My name is Patrick Gibbs. I am one of the co-organizers for the Solar District Cup Collegiate Design Competition. We are formerly known as the National Renewable Energy Lab. We are now known as the National Laboratory of the Rockies. This competition is supported formally by the Solar Energy Technologies Office, and we are currently approaching our final event. So this is a great opportunity to sort of drum up interest in the final event competition that we're putting together. So the Solar District Cup is a multidisciplinary collegiate competition where we challenge teams to design and model solar plus storage systems for a multiple building local electrical distribution network. So typically this will take the form of a college campus. We have done developments in the past as well as different business or urban districts as well. This year for the finalist teams in the class of 2025 to 2026, we have 22 finalist teams from 20 different institutions across the country. We have, I believe, close to 31 semester teams that have also signed up to participate in the competition. Difference between 2 semester and 1 semester teams is that 1 semester teams only focus on solar, and they don't have to worry about the storage aspect of their design. So a lot of these college campuses include research and universities, teaching focused institutions, and as well as across different programs. So engineers, business, we have teams that are combinations of all that, and we see great success out of teams that try to incorporate a lot of different members and backgrounds into their teams. So how the competition works is this year we have 5 divisions. We're going to have teams are assigned to divisions by the competition organizers, and those teams compete against other teams that have the same district or district use case. The winners of each division are selected by a panel of industry judges that we have put together. Each first place team from their division goes on to compete for our final pitch winner, and they compete to a different panel of industry judges as well. And so that is determined by a final online virtual competition event, which will be happening, like I said, later this month. just showing the background of where our judges come from is our judges uh, come from all sorts of aspects of industry, a lot of developers, but also financial experts, and from the campuses and develop campuses that students are developing projects for themselves. So this is what our schedule looks like. Students start all the way back in September. They start with training, developing preliminary solar designs, financing, and then we have a mid-year checkpoint in December. So students will submit what they've designed so far. Our staff here at the lab will give feedback to those students so they can improve their designs, and then the students spend the spring semester adding storage to those designs and iterating on what they've come up with already. Final deliverable packages are due in the coming weeks, and then our final events are, like I said, later in April. April 30th is that project pitch event that the winning teams will present to win the overall title. So, what we provide to the students here is we've used Canvas, which is a online training or platform. So we are able to break up different modules to provide students with different education on things that we believe that they need to succeed in this project. And so the things that we talk about are development plan, um, conceptual design, solar, PV finance. And then we also provide access to Aurora and Helioscope, to design tools that are used in industry. And then we also provide SAM and REUP, which are two tools that were developed here at the lab to uh, analyze storage projects and the financials around storage. And then we provide examples from previous teams, packages, what makes a good solar proposal, guidance and feedback that we've seen throughout the years. And then we also ask that students do a knowledge check to show that they have actually learned something through the competition as well. This is kind of the process that we ask students to go through. Starts with their development plan, looking at a preliminary site and data analysis. What sort of data do we have? What are the codes? What are the zoning ordinances around our campus and area? And where can we build solar? Then they start with a conceptual system design in Aurora Solar or Helioscope, looking at specifics like PV system, the location, sizing, looking at the data around it, irradiance, temperature profiles, shading as well, and then also looking at the efficiency of those individual systems. Then we have the students look at a distribution system impact summary. We have a tool here at the lab where we're able to model the distribution system on these campuses, and so students can look at how does installing this solar system affect the capacity on the grid within this campus. And so looking at that, understanding, do we need to make upgrades, or does our system fit already on this specific node within the campus? Or do we need to curtail any of our power for the PV system? Then the students are going to do a financial analysis, looking at capital financing, operation, and maintenance costs, and then also understanding, is this design financially viable or is it suboptimal? Are we going to do a PPA or a cash purchase? How does the IRA fit into this? So, and then the students go back to the development plan, making sure that everything they've developed is already meets the land use zoning ordinances, master plan compliance, permitting and codes, construction and interconnection, and then stakeholder engagement plans as well. And like I said, this is an iterative process. So if the students at any point realize that they can improve their design, or they need to change their design based off the finances or the distribution system, they can circle back and restart the conceptual systems. So Getting into what these district use case profiles look like that we provide students, we try to give the students everything and all the information they need in a package so that they're not doing too much research into specific data and background of these campuses. And so we kind of like to think of this as our RFP document or request for proposal. So students, we have all of this information on Canvas. So this is their challenge document outlining district use cases, the goals, and then we also include data files on annual energy usage for the buildings within their district use case. We provide them a map, distribution system information, links to sustainability goals, and the campus master plans as well. So. This year, I'm going to highlight our two full year teams. So the University of Wisconsin-Madison is one of our full year uh, district use cases that students can focus on. And so for a battery storage aspect, UW-Madison wants to focus on providing resiliency during times of outages and peak shaving. So is a very large campus, and so they identified a smaller section of campus that primarily hosts student dorms, student dining, as well as some of their critical infrastructure for some of their education or buildings, and so that those buildings also need power during these times of outages. So they want to provide these dorms and buildings with a resiliency in case they do ever lose power during that. And so batteries and the solar developed for within this use case should go towards meeting those goals that the University of Wisconsin-Madison has identified. Clemson University, this section of their campus is actually more of their one educational center, but also includes library and student center, dining halls as well. So they wanted their campus to be more of a community resilience hub in the event of widespread outages. And so the batteries are going to be used for creating these hubs. And one of the difficulties around this section of campus that Clemson identified here is that some of these parking lots that appear as they would be good options or candidates for carport, canopy, solar are actually slated for future development within their campus master plan. So students should have taken a look through that campus master plan and seen that, and so they hopefully don't design solar for those parking lots. And so those are our 2-year-long district use cases that students are designing their projects towards. We do have a division called the Bring Your Own use case profile. So this is for student teams that want to design solar for their own campus. And so we have created a template that will help the students identify and outline key information that they need to get started with creating their own district use case. We will help the students if they have any questions or um, with modeling energy consumption within buildings if they're not able to get that from their campus utility managers, or also creating an electrical distribution system. We can help students create that as well. And so this is what things the students need to think about and how they go around identifying their own district if they want to do that for the competition. Thank you everyone for listening. I'm now pass back to Ella, who will introduce 2 students of the competition, and they were going to talk about their experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Patrick, for providing an overview. Yeah, now we're excited to have Caitlin Hong and Eris Davis. They are both Columbia University students. Caitlin is a mechanical engineering major, and Eris is a earth and environmental engineering major. So I will hand it off to them to share their screen and showcase some of the great work that they're doing. Thank you both so much.
Hi, thank you to Ella and ASES for giving us the opportunity to share our project and receive some feedback. And thank you to Patrick and the National Lab of the Rockies for organizing this awesome competition. As Ella said, I'm Caitlin, a sophomore studying mechanical engineering, and I'm joined by my teammate Eris. We're both part of the Columbia University Sustainable Energy team in the Solar District Cup, and this is well, Columbia University Sustainable Energy is a club on campus, mainly sophomores and freshmen, but also some juniors and seniors for anyone interested in renewable energy. Today, we're going to introduce you to our use case, pitch our proposal, get into the details of our technical design, community engagement plan, and financial plan, and also point out some of our next steps to improve our project. So as Patrick described earlier, our use case is the University of Wisconsin-Madison, or at least the portion outlined in red. In general, the University of Wisconsin-Madison has some ambitious sustainability goals, such as running on only renewable energy by 2030, providing all interested students in sustainability educational experiences, and committing to using their campus as a living lab for decarbonization. The specific requests in our use case were offsetting electricity consumption by at least 11% with solar, reducing the peak demand in July by 25%, and then there's a resilience component as well, where we want to support 25% of the aggregate average daily load during a 3-day outage. So our design is a 1.81 megawatt solar system that includes a battery with a 495 kilowatt discharge rate and 3,696 kilowatt hour capacity. We believe our solar and storage system will boost campus resilience and safety, push progress toward the university's decarbonization goals, and we also include initiatives that meet the student desires for sustainability-focused educational experiences, prepare them for careers in renewable energy, and attract more prospective students. And we believe we will position UW-Madison as a pioneer of sustainability in higher education and help them continue their heritage of responding to their students, the broader community, and the needs of the natural environment. Pictured on the left side of the screen is our solar installations. So how we pick the sites is looking at the biggest rooftops with minimal HVAC or interference. We also considered which buildings were on the National Register of Historic Places, and also considered the hosting capacity of the installation. So one thing we noticed was that the Bach Recreational Building and the Veterinary Medicine Building both exceeded the hosting capacity, but we were not as concerned with the Bach Recreational Building because the local load made up 61% of the total campus demand, and we thought that would take the extra solar generation before it reached the interconnection node. But to handle hosting capacity issues, we took a look at what kind of battery we could use. So we use REOP to determine the size of our battery. We inputted the hourly solar generation in a year from after modeling our design and helioscope. And then we also gave it the hourly campus demand provided by the Solar District Cup organizers. And in that, we also told it that we wanted to handle a 3-day outage, and REOPT recommended a 495 kilowatt and 3,696 kilowatt hour battery. As you can see in the graph below, our battery is able to handle a 3-day outage with no input from the grid, and this battery is charged by PV and the grid. And then to site our battery, as I mentioned earlier, the veterinary medicine building was a bit of a concern. So we sited it next to this building to intercept any excess solar generation that the interconnection node could not handle. This location is also near a 6,800 kilovolt amp interconnection node to handle the maximum discharge rate of the battery. One of the requests from the district use case was to shave the July peak by 25%. Initially, it was around 900 kilowatts, and we needed to get it down to 675 kilowatts. And from the bottom graph, we were able to do that. The reason we needed to shave the July peak is because the use case noted that it might be the maximum, the annual maximum, but we noticed that that was actually in June, so we were also able to reduce that by 25%. So using the solar installations to benefit the community and the students is our priority. Our proposal includes class visits, lab experiments, and formal research opportunities. And we also propose an annual career fair that enables students to talk to the companies that installed this project on their own campus and give them exposure to other renewable energy companies as well. To educate younger students, we propose an additional class to UW-Madison's Badger Summer Scholars Program for high school students focused on renewable energy science and policy and involves our solar installations as well. To reduce fear surrounding solar panels and batteries, we planned renewable energy literacy programs, site tours, and interactive workshops for the students and local residents. Additionally, Madison trains people with non-traditional trade background for employment in solar and electrical fields through their Green Power program. So we would like to support their efforts by inviting them to study our solar installations in their program. To further share our project with students and local residents, we want to place infographic signs on buildings with solar installations that have phrases such as "look up" and share energy production and carbon offset statistics. We would also like to include meters that display energy production levels of the solar panels at any instant. Since UW-Madison has noticed an increase in the number of students and applicants interested in sustainability education, admission pamphlets will highlight the solar panels and the battery, their safety, and the new education and career opportunities related to our project and the university's other decarbonization initiatives. To improve recruitment, we also propose additional campus tour stops near the installation sites.
Moving on to the financial plan, we can start with an overview of University of Wisconsin-Madison's financial situation. So they're a non-tax-paying university that uses Madison Gas and Electric, or MG&E, as their utility provider. So when doing our financial analysis, we made the assumption that UW-Madison was using MG&E's CG2 commercial and industrial time of use rate because of its maximum 15-minute demand requirement of exceeding 200 kilowatts, but being below 1,000 kilowatts, which matches UW-Madison's operations. So the aggregate project cost of this solar PV installation, which includes the capital cost and the closing costs and fees, is $5,561,900. So just for a quick visual of next slide, please. Okay, so just for a quick visual, we modeled both a customer-owned cash payment for the installation, as well as a power purchase agreement, which is investor-owned. And you'll see the customer-owned model on the left and the PPA on the right. So with the customer-owned model, we see at the beginning that large capital cost that we have to make up front, and then subsequent savings as we go on. Whereas with the PPA, we don't have that capital investment upfront because we have the investor-owned model, and we see savings increasing as we move on. So we can go more into the details of these two models on the next slide. So we see highlighted in yellow is the PPA and highlighted in red is the customer owned. So we have comparisons here of the internal rate of return, both pre-tax and post-tax for the investor on the left and for the customer on the right, based on the model that we choose. So we see a more stable IRR for the customer-owned model at around 5.28%. However, we see after tax, the rate of return for the investor-owned model is higher. We do see overall, when we look at savings and NPV, for the pre-tax, for the investor, it's a bit lower than we see for the customer-owned. We see annual energy savings at $103,000 versus $356,000 for the customer owned. And then for the PPA, we also see annual total energy savings for the customer at $2,574,000 versus $8,907,000 for the customer owned. However, this is not, there's more to be taken into consideration when deciding between the PPA and the customer owned. So we finally decided on the PPA despite some of the savings numbers being higher for the customer owned for several reasons. And before we get into that, the PPA price is set at around 12 cents per kilowatt hour, which is similar to the Midwest's average of around 13 cents per kilowatt hour. And we have a 0% escalator, so a fixed price over time. So back to our decision, we chose the PPA for several reasons. One of the largest reasons is the tax benefits that can be passed off from the investor to the university in the form of savings. So when looking at this, one thing that we had to really take into account was how is the University of Wisconsin-Madison going to get these tax benefits, particularly investment tax credits for renewables. And something that we had to look at was the recent One Big Beautiful Bill, which made it so that ITC tax credits can't be used for tax-exempt entities, such as this university, for projects that go into service after December 31st, 2027. So we decided to make sure we chose a model that allowed for the tax benefits. So for the customer-owned model, those tax benefits would have been useful for the university. However, with the One Big Beautiful Bill after December 31st, 2027, that's not possible. However, with the PPA, the investor can take on those ITC tax credits and pass over those benefits to University of Wisconsin-Madison as savings. So that is a great benefit of the PPA. It also just lowers the risk for the university. Operations and performance is responsible. It's the responsibilities passed on to the developer. And of course, as we saw from the graphs before, there are no upfront capital costs. So we're having savings pretty close into when we started the deployment of the project. And then we see the break-even year as well as 11 years versus 15 years for the customer owned. And with the constraint that we had for the competition of having an NPV for the investor of 0, this ensures that the investment will fully break even and achieve the exact return for the investor. Now we can move on to the financials of the battery. So as mentioned by Caitlin, the battery, its goal is to reduce peak demand and shift loads to be at on less or off-peak hours. And in doing so, because of the charges that we see for energy and demand and the rate that University of Wisconsin-Madison is using, this load shifting and demand, peak demand reduction will lead to savings for the university based on what the battery is able to achieve. So in total, we see that the battery will be able to save the campus $1,143,224 over the course of 25 years. And that will be, we also see $3 million in savings for electricity costs, as well as $1 million in savings for operations and maintenance costs. So, oh, I'm sorry, that will be added costs. But we still do see total costs reduced with the savings of around $1 million over the 25 years.
The ways we want to improve our project or our proposal before submission, we want to better understand NFPA 855 to ensure the location of the battery is safe and there we can avoid thermal runaway. We would also like to pick a supplier and model for the battery to also help us evaluate our battery site, the size, in comparison to the NFPA 855. We'd also like to finalize all the national, state, and city regulations that are applicable to our design. We've been working on this throughout the year, but there are a lot of long documents to read through, and it's sometimes can be hard to sift through what is relevant to us. But thank you so much for your time and allowing us to share our presentation. We really welcome any feedback and ways we can improve. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Caitlin, Eris, and Patrick. I really appreciate your time and participation and incredible work. We do have some questions in the chat, and I'll start with Drew Gillett. Drew, do you want to just unmute? I know you have some questions. I think some of them might have already gotten answered, so I'd rather not read through all of them.
I can do that. Although I'll have to crib from the chat to see what it was I was asking at which point, how confused I was. Let's see. Where did the presentation start? Okay. First question has to do more with the organization of this. How is it? This is the first we've heard of this. Usually I'm paying attention to a lot of solar related blogs, like our own Solar 8-Day News and others. And this is the first. Is this an outgrowth of the Solar Decathlon in some way?
No, so this is our own competition. It started in 2019, 2020 was the first year, so relatively new compared to the length that the Solo Decathlon had been around.
Okay. And it clearly shows in the presentations that there's been a lot of development over those years in terms of the student knowledge and interest in flow. Another question I had was more or less as a comment is that I am always amazed how easy the PV resource calculations and even the PV cost data is easy compared to all the other financial runarounds you get, like utility pricing and zoning requirements and fire requirements, et cetera. So it's interesting to see that the students have focused on what are the real problems, the latter, rather than the former of does PV work and how well, So that was really great. Let's see. How about facilities managers? How are they included in both this individual case study and across the program?
Yeah, so conversations that we have around developing these district use cases typically start with facility managers. That's where we found the most success in connecting with college campuses and the people who, one, have the data and are willing to share it with students, but the people who also really understand what their campus has, what needs to be upgraded, what parts of campus should be focused on. So that's where our conversations start. And then one of my jobs on the competition staff is to try to get as much information out so that these facility managers aren't being reached out to by student teams throughout the year. And every once in a while I'll miss something and I have to reach back out. But then at the end of the competition, these facility managers or sustainability departments, typically a staff member from their university is one of the judges that are these students have to present to at the end of the year. And so They get to see what the students are presenting, what the outcomes are, but we also send, so the students give a presentation to the judges, but they also have to create a document about their designs that's typically 30 to 60 pages, I believe it is. And so we also send those documents to the staff of these universities. And so the universities have those on file if they ever want to go back and consider them and sort of use these as pre-feasibility projects and understanding of solar potential on their
Right.
campus. So
I'm guessing that they sit there and collect dust on the shelves. Have any of the universities over the years actually implemented some of these studies in, or at least some fashion? I'm sure that it's influenced their thinking a bit, but in terms of concrete PV megawatts or megawatt hours of battery storage on college campuses, is there any light at in the tunnel?
yeah, so I actually participated in this competition as a student that first year, 2019, 2022. And so our district use case was New Mexico State University. They from have a plot of land just off campus that they are knew they wanted to do solar on. They hadn't done any like outreach to companies about what could be put on this plot of land, and so they kind of used the competition to understand the how much solar they could really put on this land and how it could be used across campus. And they
That's Santa
recently
Rosa or
um, New Mexico State
University NM
University in Las Cruces.
Las Cruces? Ah, excellent.
Yeah.
I think I misdivided somewhere in there, but my first thought was there was 4 megawatts or less of PV and 8 megawatt hours of storage. But anyway, I said 8 to 1 versus the typical 2 to 4. But the later financial information indicates it's a typical 2 to 1 ratio for the storage to the PV that is being proposed in Madison. But the thing that puzzles me is that's based on the goals that somebody picked, I think, out of a hat. Whereas there should be a way to now change the sizing and work on the PV. Yes, what do they call it when you don't use it? To take and get to a more optimum sizing result than where you happen to be. Although I will say that it comes out at about a 20-year payback on the money after taxes for either of the groups is really about where you should be. If you invest much more, it's going to be less return. So good shot there, Madison guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Patrick. We do have another question from James. He said, any consideration of virtual power plant opportunities, if available, for income and local distribution grid benefits?
I can start with this, and it might affect what the students have to say about it, but we at the lab have not added virtual power plant sort of education or information into what we have developed in terms of teaching in terms of our Canvas product. So I'm not sure how aware students are of virtual power plant opportunities across these campuses as a tool for resilience. And so I don't know if the students came across that in their research or are familiar with what a virtual power plant is, but we at the organizers haven't added anything around virtual power plants into our education yet. So
I don't know much about virtual power plants, but my understanding is that it involves some export to the surrounding community or outside distribution system. And I know in our use case for the purpose of this competition, we were asked to not export any solar to the surrounding community and just keep it within our use case.
Great. Thank you so much, Caitlin. Both Baker says, I'm very impressed with the amazing work. And Paulette says, great work. Thanks. We do have about 10, 13 minutes or so. Does anyone else have any questions, comments?
I have
Great.
one for Paul. Is the much like the Tour de Sol that Nessie ran for years, 20 or so, a great product of that activity of PV powered vehicles was not so much the vehicles or the technology, et cetera, but the large numbers of students that we got involved in it to the point where they sort of become the product, much as has happened in this case. I'm kind of curious, what's over the total years, how many colleges and how many total students have been involved in these design projects?
Yeah, I think um, I'm not sure I have the numbers off the top of my head. I have a rough estimate, but my colleague on the call, Ariel Cardinal, she might have a better estimate, but I think it's close to over 200 teams. I'm not sure how many different schools that is, but I know it should be around 40 to 50 different schools throughout the history of the competition, and we average about 10 students per team, so that puts us at around 2,000 students since the beginning of the competition.
That's impressive. Now for the next 20,000.
Yeah, that is the hope and goal, is that we can continue this competition for many more years to come, and continue to educate these students. We've seen a lot of former students come out of the competition and go get jobs in the solar industry and be very valuable workers to the companies that they join. And so we've heard that the exact reason they were hired is because they participated in this competition and they have the skills that this competition provided to them. So we're very proud of that, and we're excited to keep this going and hopefully impact the future for thousands of more students. So
Incredible.
yeah, and
Great.
I just dropped a link in our chat. That's our main HeroX page to follow the competition. HeroX.Solar District Cup. This is where we'll post registration links for the final events. So if you want to see what these students are, the winning students' presentations to the judges, and please follow along the challenge, and you'll start to get emails from us about this final event coming up. So
Amazing. Any other questions or comments? Please feel free to either write in the chat or just simply unmute yourself. I want to make sure everyone feels heard and got their questions answered. James?
I was just going to comment that here in Texas, we were really hoping for some money from the EPA Solar for All grant for similar things, and hopefully that'll come back and some of these projects can get some financing through that.
Absolutely. Anybody else?
Of all the schools that participated over the years, who do you think has profited most from it and gotten the most done in actual square feet on buildings, I used to call it?
I think it's really hard to tell because solar projects do take some time. And so, like I mentioned, I think New Mexico State, from the beginning, they were one of the earliest partners of this competition. So I think just due to time, they've been able to install the most, but we've seen a lot of interest from what the students have developed for universities over the last couple of years. And so we'll see what these universities that we've partnered with focus on. Coupled to mention that, keep an eye on the University of Washington. They've already done a lot of solar development on campus, and a lot of that is also student-led. And so we partnered with their student organization last year, and they were very excited about some of the designs our students came up with. Another school is Penn State University, their health campus in Hershey, Pennsylvania. They were also very interested in what the students came up with last year in terms of potential for solar projects on their campus. And so I think the longer we go, the more that these universities see the value in what these students have to provide, and hopefully it does factor into what these universities are doing in terms of installing solar on their campuses. And so we're just
all
excited
three
to
of
see.
those look to me like they're great case studies to put forward so that the potential new students coming in can see that their work actually results in some physical changes at the universities that do work well and are financially feasible and are happening. So as soon as you can get those going from New Mexico, which you say seems to be furthest along, put them in the spotlight. And then the other two that you mentioned certainly coming right along behind them. And that'll provide, I think, inspiration for the students that are, coming on for the new program coming out. New Madison, I'd love to see them get one done. There's plenty of room in the Rotskeller for storage.
Yeah, I think UW-Madison is very interested because they do have their own campus goals around one on-site solar generation, but also greenhouse gas emission reductions. And so they're very interested in what the students have to present as well.
Thank you. Trudy, did you have anything?
Well, I have three comments. First, wonderful set of presentations. I'm always glad to see NREL, and I call it NREL specifically because I'm an ex-NRELian and I just can't change some things. But I'm always glad to see NREL involved in education programs at a variety of levels. And congratulations to you, Caitlin and Eris, for having a wonderful, wonderful product. Then I have a specific question about the policy, which that is going to point to you, Eris. And then I have a general comment of, since this has been going on since 2019, if you formed a group of colleges that did implement and deploy solar or were close to implementing and deploying solar, you give them an opportunity to learn from each other. And so, facility managers from different universities could bond over that, and that might increase the deployment. My policy question, of course, is we had the best investment tax credits around for a whole host of renewable energies and technologies. And one of the most beautiful things about it is that it empowered nonprofits to engage with, what was it called, direct pay, I believe. So, in your analysis for the University of Madison, Wisconsin, Madison, were you looking at that direct pay portion, or had you already just taken that sort of out of the analysis?
Yeah, so we had taken that out of the analysis due to looking at the possible caveats coming from new policy, new legislation, because we made assumptions that based on the timeline of the competition and if the project were to be deployed at the university, it would probably be in service after that cutoff date. So we used that assumption just to make it as realistic as possible.
Fair enough. Some of the professionals, particularly on the wind side, have been saying that that really was the sweet spot, empowering nonprofit organizations to get that direct pay. That initial payment from an economic analysis was hugely, hugely powerful. So, anyway, we can hope for the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I have one quick question, unless anyone else has anything before we drop. I just wanted to ask both Caitlin and Eris, what made you want to get involved in the engineering, renewable energy, sustainability space? I know you both are involved in, I forget already your club's name, your sustainability at Columbia Club, but yeah, just kind of wanted to hear from you all on that, and of course, what led you to be a part of the competition as well.
On my end, I've been very interested in sustainability since I've started my college career. I've just always thought, like, if I'm going to have a career or work on something for the next 40 plus years of my life, I want it to be very meaningful and do something good for my generation and the ones that come after. For this competition specifically, I really liked how it had a realistic component to it, as if we were responding to a real request for proposal and acting as solar developers. I thought that we would be equipped with very applicable skills in when we're like applying for jobs or internships, and I just thought it would be very useful.
When it comes to me, I feel like just throughout my life, I've been kind of conditioned to be interested in sustainability. My mom studied forestry and soil sciences, and so she would like have that be part of my life when I was growing up. And then I was also always interested in engineering. So I decided to put it together when I came to college. And throughout like internships and research I've done, I became more and more drawn to energy. And then specifically why I'm interested in this competition, I think that it, like Caitlin said, provides like a very real world example of how deployment of sustainable and affordable infrastructure is done. And that's something that's like a high level goal of mine career wise. Um, so I just wanted to gain the knowledge and skills so that once I start, with my ambitions and having this happen for people around the world, I can at least have that little bit of knowledge going into it.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. Patrick, any last questions or comments or anything you wanted to showcase? I figure, yeah, we'll be sending the recording out shortly, and I will also put the link that Patrick put in the chat to everyone as well. But do you have anything else you wanted to share before we drop?
No, thank you everyone for joining today, and thank you to our two students. We're excited for the competition coming up, and like Ella said, she'll be sending out that link. So please follow along and join us in a couple weeks for our final competition event. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for your time. Thank you to our speakers. We'll follow up soon. Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.